this government campaigned, and when we went around the country, we were campaigning on the basis of changing Kenya, and especially changing Kenya and the fortunes of Kenya when every other person is taking part in that growth. That is why our focus is on all levels, but more focus on the lower cadre of our society, which needs more public and government support. Our budget is 3.744 trillion, and just to put it into perspective, so that when we talk about taxes and when we talk about revenues, we also talk about commensurate expenditure. Out of the 3.744 trillion budget, which is actually inclusive also of the housing fund in that money, we need to look at the revenue side first, and then go to the expenditure side. The revenue side is that we are anticipating to collect taxes of around 2.56 trillion Kenya shillings in ordinary revenue, and we are anticipating to collect around 347 billion in terms of what we call appropriations in aid. These are the fees that you pay, for example, in a public university or any other revenue that a government institution receives and spends at source. Out of that, we are anticipating to have 42 billion Kenya shillings in terms of grants. If you do the math there, you'll see that our deficit this time has climbed down, and our deficit is just around 720 billion. And I'll talk about that later. On the expenditure side, because that is where we should actually be giving it more focus. Because when you take on this hard, the balance has to balance, the budget has to balance. Out of that money, around 1.56 trillion Kenya shillings is going into national government recurrent inclusive of national government in terms of executive and parliament and also judiciary, any money that remains in the national arena. We have also allocated 807 billion in development across the country, roads, electricity, water, and all the rest. Our shareable revenue to counties is around 385 billion. And there is another one, expenditure, which is very important, and actually which forms the first charge. These are the monies that we actually pay before the other three that have tabulated. We call Consolidated Fund Services, CFS. This is where we put money for the payment of interest rates, which is in a tune of over 700 billion. But the entire kitty of CFS is around 986 billion, because this is the kitty or the vote that the interest rate repayment takes the lion's share. It is the same kitty that we put in pension funds, because we must put it as a first charge, because these are monies due to Kenyans, and also our transfers to various commissions, because commissions should be operating independently, and that is why their monies or their funds are put in as first charge. Putting that into perspective, I'm sure we'll get